Hello, everyone. I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BIZTOOLS. Welcome to this overview of the ESS BIZTOOLS Research and Development Product Package. I hope you're having a great day. What we have on the screen is the members area for ESS BIZTOOLS. We're going to click on Research and Development and download the content. And when you get to this, you have two categories, the accountant's documents and the white label documents. The white label documents are packages that you will be able to download to a client who has agreed with you for you to supply a research and development system to them. And we will show you that at another date. It's very similar to the package I'm about to show you, but there's additional material in the accountant's package. So if we go to accountant's documents, we have a list of all of the items included within the research and development system. And what we're coming down towards is the flowcharts, which we believe will help you to have a better appreciation of all of the ramifications of research and development activities. And I would invite you to have a good look at this. Let me know if you've got any questions, and we can assist you with those answers. So we're going to be planning a research and development process. Which will take you through this entire arrangement. So we start off with someone's had a discussion and come up with an idea. They've then decided that they should put a small project team together to have a look at it and do some preliminary investigations. And to assist you on this, we have a special paper which you can bring up. First of all, you get the executive summary on that paper, research and development, corporate matters. This is just saying whether this client might be eligible. And we have the paper on research and development that you can analyze and make sure your client fits the category. And primarily, most of you are going to be dealing with clients with turnovers under $20 million, I imagine. So the rebate is calculated at 43.5% on the eligible research and development expenditure. There was another form and papers mentioned here, so we might just have a look at that. BAS 5505, planning a research and development document. Gives you a form which will help take you through this entire process on planning a research and development project so that you can discuss that with your clients. And hopefully that will assist. You can then move into creating a project coordinator, undertaking prior art or literature searches. These are very important because they identify whether someone else has already invented this product or service. And you need to document this. And we have forms in the system which will help your clients to be able to document so this is relating to planning the systematic progression of work. This form will take you through this process so that you adequately record what is going to be required. What was the core activity? Why did you even start to undertake this? This is obviously for items for the clients to answer. What was the hypothesis? So we've got to be able to have a positive statement of a belief. And then the process is that the company undertakes a series of experiments which all need to be documented to substantiate they've undertaken the work. And incidentally, these experiments don't have to be successful. I've had situations where accountants have said to me, oh, the client wasn't successful, so we can't claim the research and development. I said, yes, they can. And that's a very important matter that you understand. So we need to identify the hypothesis for this particular core project, and then identify who the company has discussed this with. Who are the people who believe that this is going to relate to the creation of new knowledge, the key professionals, perhaps some other consultants or contractors. And what did they say? Do they agree with you that no one else has undertaken this type of activity and published it so that it's able to be searched and is available? If they haven't published it or promoted it in any way, well, your client's not expected to be able to identify that. So these are the types of forms that we have implemented into the system to assist you on this process. And you need to have a document then which is identifying this core knowledge. And we had a look at that. Some of that was covered in BAS 5514, which we just looked at. And you need a list of the summary of advice that you receive from competent professionals and other experts. And this whole process is being undertaken within the company to submit a report to go to the board of directors. So we have developed a research and development plan, which will assist you on this process in having discussions with your clients. The key requirement from both the Australian Taxation Office and Oz Industry, as the two government departments that are administering this system, is that appropriate documentation has been maintained, showing what the core idea was, what the hypotheses that were decided upon to reach a decision as to whether the core idea is workable, whether something can be done which will result in an achievement being obtained. And then how was the process undertaken? What experiments were done? What was the results? And what was the cost of all this, both in labour, external advisors, contractors, and how's it all fit together? So you then have a whole series of documentations, including a budget, that is then able to be submitted to the board of directors. Now, as part of this process, the board might have said they want an advance finding lodged with the ATO. So what is an advance finding? This is where the company can seek prior approval from the Australian Taxation Office and Oz Industry. You just lodge one form and they coordinate it between them. And you need to make sure that your client has specified their full project so that the experts at Oz Industry can evaluate it and decide whether they are going to give prior approval. And they then confirm that to the tax office that they have given approval that this project meets the requirements of the research and development incentive rebate. And there's a fair bit of material there because you have to disclose, or your client has to disclose, a significant amount of information to get that prior approval from the tax office. We've included some minutes of board of directors meetings whereby the process of submitting an application for a research and development activity is appropriately minuted at a board meeting. Obviously, if there's other business being conducted in a board meeting, you would incorporate it all into 1 minute, but we've drafted a minute in case you need some assistance on a particular board meeting to document that a report has been submitted to the board of directors. The board of directors have considered it and have approved or come to some decision, and normally have allocated a budget sum so they can monitor what is the overall result of this process. And we're then ready to go on to the next flowchart. So we've tried to dissect these flowcharts into activities that relate. So this one's about getting ready, getting a team together. And it's very important that your client appreciates that they need to make sure that all of the documentation is finalized. Firstly, for their own team, have they signed confidentiality agreements or assignment of intellectual property agreements? Because they're going to be involved in a research and development project. And this could be, and hopefully it will be, worth a lot of money for your client. If they're dealing with subcontractors or other professionals, these matters are very important that they get a clear understanding at the very beginning. Assignment of intellectual property, confidentiality agreements. In some cases, they may not enter into those with all of their contractors or professional consultants because they may have entered into some results-based agreement. That should be documented so that there is no misunderstanding as to what the arrangement is. So we've got lists of competent professionals and some details of the eligible expenditure that can be claimed. And we're now raising this concept of task codes, because the Taxation Act requires the company to keep accurate records as to what the team members and the consultants and professionals have undertaken that your client's going to be claiming the research and development tax incentive rebate for. So I believe it's important that your client establish task codes. One client I've worked with has got over 100 of these, but it will depend. So instead of someone having to write on a timesheet or some sort of diary entry, what they did, and that might be 20 words to describe something. Hopefully the client and you as their accountant can devise a list of these key tasks, even if they are 20 words, and then give them a numerical code that the time can be shown as having been spent on these various codes by the employee. Because the company needs to have a record that if they are challenged by Oz Industry or the Australian Taxation Office as to what people did on these R&D projects, they can produce a record, preferably a timesheet, preferably signed by the employee, which says on such and such a date, on project number this, I did the following work by putting the codes down. And remember that a dispute with the tax office could be in 3 to 4 years' time after the tax return's been lodged. The next item is time units. Now, people can record in hours and minutes, but that gets a bit messy in adding it all up. If you've got 15, 20 people involved in research and development projects. We have introduced the concept of time units, and they could be whatever your client decides is appropriate, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. In the material we've included in the package, we've assumed 15-minute time units, because I think that makes it easier for people to record where they've been. They just mark off so many time units that they have spent doing a particular process on a research and development project code. Labour on cost is the calculation of personal leave, holidays, statutory holidays, insurance, workers' comp insurance, that can be added on as a percentage on the labour cost. What is it for this particular client? And the material that you will see as you go through this has summaries then for the labour cost, and then the contractor costs, and then the competent professionals costs, and then any other costs that are involved in the research and development project. Because this information needs to be available for inclusion in the returns that have to be submitted to Oz Industry by the 30th of April the following year, normally 10 months after the end of that company's financial year, and ultimately through to the tax office to claim the research and development incentive rebate. So we've got information there to facilitate this whole process for you. This one is planning the research and development work project, and it goes through the various components, starting with someone double checking before a lot of money is spent by the company that the prior art searches, literature searches were competently conducted, and there's no question marks on any of that, and a document's been maintained so that if challenged, the company can prove that these searches were undertaken on a particular date. If the company believes that some of the work cannot be conducted in Australia, it is necessary to get approval from the tax office for that. And we have a form which will assist you in advising your clients on what has to be submitted relating to the work that cannot be performed in Australia. Now, the company needs to have excuses for this, reasons for this. And there's a form which will assist you to guide your client on recording that. And then we have the overseas finding application. Now, the overseas finding is how the company goes about making this application. To be able to expend money overseas and to be able to claim it. There are strict restrictions relative to claiming expenditure for research and development being undertaken outside of Australia. And these are summarised in this summary. Pardon me. And so that document continues on. And it's a good idea to get all these things submitted to the ATO before your client commences spending any money, because they might get knocked back and they're not going to be happy. The next area I want to alert you to is the protection of this intellectual property that your client's going to be developing. It's not strictly anything to do with the tax office or Oz industry, but it's very important from your client's point of view to make sure that they've got some strategies in place to protect this new knowledge that they are developing, normally at significant costs. So the whole situation should be monitored to ensure that, first of all, those intellectual property agreements and confidentiality agreements have been signed by anyone involved. And then to make sure that appropriate records have been kept of the agreements that have been reached with these people, filed away, so that the company is not surprised at some later date by someone claiming that they've got some sort of percentage ownership of this new product or service that the company has developed through a research and development activity. Our system suggests that early in the piece, if the company believes that this activity could be very valuable and very rare, that the company should be getting advice from a patent attorney as to whether a patent application should be submitted. Systematic progression of work is a very important terminology in research and development, because what the legislation requires is that there is a process which is similar to what the government perceives happens in universities when they undertake research, and that is that there is a plan, and that's what we are outlining to you in these flowcharts, and obviously in all of the papers and forms which back up those flowcharts, so that you are able to convince your client that by completing these forms, they are producing a complete record as to how they approach this activity in a systematic manner. And in that way, they will be able to convince the ATO or the Oz industry that they have complied with the legislation. They have recorded the hypothesis. They have recorded the experiments that were conducted and the results of those experiments and any new knowledge that has been produced. Talk about team meetings so that there's a regular team meeting activity being conducted, probably monthly meetings, but in some cases weekly, to analyze what's happening. And we have a key document called the governance statement that the person in charge of R&D needs to sign to certify that all of the records that are required have been maintained by the company, and that there are reports submitted back to the board of directors. We then move into the labour flow chart. I think that's enough what we've done so far for you to start absorbing what's involved in research and development and how the ESS BIZTOOLS system has been set out, how we've approached it, and hopefully you will agree. If you've got any questions, can you please contact us? And in about 2 weeks' time, we will be convening another members webinar where we will take you through the next stage, which is the record keeping. Please bear in mind that if you had clients who have spent over $20,000 on legitimate research and development in the 2019/20 financial year, they need to submit information on their core projects to AusIndustry by 30 April this year. So it's not that far away. They need to get that information collated so that it can be submitted. And I believe that these forms will assist you to advise your clients on that process. If you've got clients who are undertaking research and development projects as we speak, you need to make sure that they are incorporated as a company and that they are keeping these records as their supporting documentation on the research and development activities that they've taken. And again, I really hope that the ESS BIZTOOLS research and development product package is going to assist you to do that. So until we meet again in 2 weeks' time to have a review of the next phase, which is the record keeping, the financial side of things, if you like, have a great day. And thank you for your support of ESS BIZTOOLS. Thanks very much. And I hope that you will all get some real benefit out of this research and development package. Remember that many of your clients, or indeed prospects in your area, may have spent a considerable amount of time over the last 12, 14 months undertaking research because of the COVID-19 lockdowns and working from home requirements, etc. And those clients could be very interested in ascertaining how they can claim a taxation rebate on that research and development expenditure. They need to be companies, of course. And if they are undertaking research and development at present and they're not companies, that's probably the #1 priority. Let's get them into a corporation so that they're able to claim these payments. Have a great day. Goodbye.